Today's video is brought to you by Geek Orthodox's new Rivendell collection. Whether you prefer the stained glass pieces or the clings, these pieces of art make a great addition to any nerdy home. He's one of the most beloved characters in The Lord of the Rings, an incredible being who would protect the trees of Middle-earth for thousands and thousands of years. But in his early writings, Tolkien envisioned this character as undeniably evil. Today on Nerd of the Rings, we cover Treebeard's evil origins. As with so much of Tolkien's writing process, we find the details of today's topic in the history of Middle-earth, specifically Volume 6, The Return of the Shadow. Here we find an early draft of Gandalf telling Frodo of his captivity, which delayed his journey to Rivendell and contains a surprising twist. "You will soon hear all you wish to know," said Gandalf. "We shall have a council as soon as you are well enough. At the moment, I will only say that I was held captive." "You?" cried Frodo. "Yes," laughed Gandalf. "There are many powers greater than mine, for good and evil in the world. I was caught in Fangorn, and spent many weary days as the prisoner of the giant Treebeard." And shortly after this, Gandalf would warn the Fellowship about the perils awaiting them on their potential route. "Beware," said Gandalf, "of the giant Treebeard, who haunts the forest between the river and the South Mountains." So rather than a treacherous Saruman holding Gandalf captive, this version of the tale instead has Treebeard being that evil entity. But as some fans have pointed out, he is referred to here as a giant, not an ent. Can we even consider him to be the same character? For the start of our answer, we look to the single scene featuring this version of the character. Here he comes into contact with a hobbit, though once again, it's not the one we might expect. When Frodo heard the voice, he looked up, but he could see nothing through the thick and tangled branches. Suddenly he felt a quiver in the gnarled tree trunk against which he was leaning, and before he could spring away, he was pushed, or kicked, forward onto his knees. Picking himself up, he looked at the tree, and even as he looked, it took a single stride towards him. He scrambled out of the way, and a deep rumbling chuckle came down out of the treetop. "Where are you, little beetle?" said the voice. "If you don't let me know where you are, you can't blame me for treading on you. And please, don't tickle my leg." "I can't see any leg," said Frodo. "And where are you?" "You must be blind," said the voice. "I am here." "Who are you?" "I am Treebeard," the voice answered. "If you haven't heard of me before, you ought to have done. And anyway, you are in my garden." "I can't see any garden," said Frodo. "Do you know what a garden looks like?" "I have one of my own. There are flowers and plants in it, and a fence round it. But there is nothing of the kind here." "Oh, yes, there is. Only you have walked through the fence without noticing it. And you can't see the plants because you are down underneath them by their roots." It was only then, when Frodo looked closer, that he saw that what he had taken for smooth tree stems were the stalks of gigantic flowers. And what he had thought was the stem of a monstrous oak tree was really a thick, gnarled leg with a root-like foot and many branching toes. While he is termed a giant, the similarity to a tree is undeniable. And as John D. Ratliff says in The History of the Hobbit, Even in the years before Tolkien made these beings into Ents, his descriptions point to these being a mix between the green man of medieval legend and an actual tree. Another interesting note, the word Ent in Old English simply means giant. But what of our evil Treebeard's allegiance? Is he just some independent agent of malice? Or is there a greater evil he's serving? Tolkien makes that answer quite clear as well. Here, Christopher Tolkien gives us a translation of the Elvish found on the bottom of the same paper as Frodo's encounter. This is the first image of Treebeard, seeming in its air to come rather from the old Hobbit than the new. 6 lines in Elvish Tengwar are also written here, which transliterated read, "Fragment from The Lord of the Rings, sequel to The Hobbit. Frodo meets giant Treebeard in the forest of Neldoreth while seeking for his lost companions. He is deceived by the giant who pretends to be friendly, but is really in league with the enemy." Now, an important note here is that enemy is capitalized, meaning without a doubt, Treebeard was a servant of Sauron. But as we know, this version of Treebeard would not come to be. And within this same volume of the history of Middle-earth, we have Tolkien's notes indicating his change of mind about the character. If Treebeard comes in at all, let him be kindly and rather good, about 50 feet high, with barky skin, hair and beard rather like twigs, clothed in green, like a male of short shining leaves. He has a castle in the Black Mountains, and many thanes and followers. They look like young trees when they stand. Make Frodo be terrified of Gollum after a meeting in which Gollum pretended to make friends, but tried to strangle Frodo in his sleep and steal the ring. Treebeard finds him lost and carries him up into the Black Mountains. It is only here that Frodo finds he is friendly. Treebeard brings him on the way to Ond. Now, in this early draft, Ond was the name of the kingdom that we know as Gondor. And the Black Mountains mentioned here, and earlier noted as the South Mountains, would eventually become the White Mountains, which stretch throughout the southwest of Middle-earth. Continuing on, Tolkien writes, his scouts report that Ond is besieged, and that Trotter, which is an early name for Aragorn, and 4 others have been captured. Where is Sam? Sam is found in the forest. He had refused to go on without Frodo and had remained looking for him. The tree giants assail the besiegers and rescue Trotter and company, and raise siege. If this plot is used, it will be better to have no Boromir in party. Substitute Gimli, son of Glóin, who was killed in Moria. But Frodo can bear messages from Boromir to his father, the king of Ond. Not only does this small section of notes give us interesting insights into Treebeard becoming a heroic character rather than a villainous one, but we also see how Tolkien worked through who should be in the Fellowship, with Gimli having apparently died in Moria, but being brought back into the fold because Tolkien said it would be better if Boromir did not come with the company to his father. Also interesting is that in this version, rather than having the Ents assail Isengard, they would instead appear in what would become the Battle of Pelennor Fields, helping to lift the siege against Gondor. It's certainly intriguing to think about an evil Treebeard, seeking to deceive and capture both Gandalf and the Ringbearer on separate occasions. And while we would, in the final version, get Old Man Willow, a tree with some measure of malicious intent, he is not one who serves the enemy. While true this is just an abandoned concept, it's fascinating to think through the ramifications of such a decision should Tolkien have kept Treebeard evil. How would this change our view of the Ents? Would Treebeard have been seen as a Saruman, a traitor to his mission? And perhaps most interesting of all, would Tolkien have kept the concept of the Entwives and Sauron burning their lands? What do you think of these questions and the concept of an evil Treebeard? Let me know in the comments. Personally, I'm quite thankful for the good-natured and incredible Treebeard character we ended up with. A beautiful representation of ancient nature. And if you want to bring some Middle-earth beauty into your own home, Geek Orthodox's new Rivendell products are a great way to do it. They've just launched the Kickstarter featuring one of Tolkien's most memorable and beautiful locations. I absolutely love the artistry, the history, and the look of stained glass, and I've always thought it fits Tolkien's world so incredibly well. I already have some of Ian's Shire pieces at home, and I'm super excited to add these new Rivendell designs. Visit the link in the description to get your own stained glass or stained glass looking clings to bring a dose of Middle-earth to your home. As always, I want to say a huge thank you to all my Patreon and YouTube supporters who make this channel possible. CCDC Red Team, Evil Chameleon, Tom DeBombadil 19, Lissamy the Cinda, Rabbi Rob Thomas, Charles Leisure, Joe Tepper, The Mighty Mim, Andrew Carlisle, Swirled Traveler, Matthew Jeffrey, Viking Lord, Alvin Einbert, Jeremy Daniel Derby, Madame Director, Freya Firestar, Chris and Meg Q, Leo Vittori, Sky Carcass, Slide Belts, Dane Ragnarsson, Berto Berg, Graham Derricott, The Dark-Haired One, Wyland, Kiara Berlin, Z and N, Evely, Kia, Micah Wu, and Debbie. If you enjoyed the artwork in this video, check out the artists in the description to purchase prints of their great work for yourself. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you next time on Nerd of the Rings.